Hello and welcome to the Moviescramble podcast. And a slight change of format today, we will not be reviewing a film, but instead we are going to be reviewing the Glasgow Film Festival, which just ended this very weekend. Alongside myself is the ever delightful Mary. Hello Mary, how are you doing?
I don't think I've ever been accused of being ever delightful, so that is wonderful. I'm good. I'm filmed out. I definitely have spent a lot of time over the past 2 weeks in dark rooms, so it's nice to be in daylight again.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? I managed to take time off over the last week and a half so I could pretty much go to every day of the film festival, taking in an awful lot of different content, so it was very nice indeed. So what we're going to talk about here today is we'll just have a catch up with regards to our overall impressions of the film festival, and we will end it with a discussion of our favourite film from the festival. Now, the Glasgow Film Festival has been going on now for 16 years, believe it or not. It's come from very humble beginnings to the sort of mini behemoth that it is now. It's now regarded as the third biggest film festival in the UK, behind London and Edinburgh. And just as of today, there was a end of festival press release sent out saying that it's the best year ever for the film festival. There's been 43,000 admissions, which is absolutely fantastic, given it's a festival in a city like Glasgow, which is reasonably small in terms of actual cinema footprint, but obviously there's an appetite for it, and long may it continue. As well as the 43,000 admissions, there was 3,000 people attended the first ever UK exhibition by the Hollywood photographer Susan Wood, which ran through the festival at the Lighthouse. These wee strands, additions to the festival, are really kind of what make it. Now, the festival itself, as I say, ran over 10 days. There was Caitlin Moran, Simon Pegg, George Mackay, Earl Cave, Simon Bird, Emily Beecham, Imogen Poots, Celia Emery, Bill Patterson, and the cast of Our Ladies, all in attendance for their films. A lot of them were either UK or European premieres as well. It made for a very, very interesting film as far as I'm concerned. The film festival, for those who don't know, it is based on a number of strands. We have Fright Fest, Stranger Than Fiction, Local Heroes. There was a focus on Icelandic film, Future Cult, Cinemasters' Window in the World, Crossing the Line, and Strand, where it highlighted female filmmakers who the festival's choice featured a large part within the festival, not just that strand itself. There was a lot more female representation here, which is excellent because that's what you're trying to get within this industry. You're trying to get parity right across the board. So, Mary, your overall impressions of the festival?
I mean, I love it. I'm obviously, just because it's my home city and I want to beat Edinburgh because we've got that sort of inter-city rivalry going on, so I just want this festival to be the best that it can be. And I definitely think it's drawing a lot kind of more diverse films, more talent up to do the red carpet walk or whatever. And I certainly think that people who wouldn't necessarily engage with cinema because they think it's maybe, films that don't speak to them, or maybe it's all about big blockbusters, I certainly think it draws those people out and back into the cinemas as well. And we've got lots of great locations and venues this year. They obviously do like their kind of interactive film sets as well, which they were doing down at the Arches in SWG3. A couple of years ago I did go and see The Thing sitting in the snow at Bray Head, and that was the weirdest experience ever, but so good. Like, there's so much to it. It's not just like you can go and see films, as you said. They've got photography exhibitions, they've got loads of directors who are willing to do Q&As or face-to-face interviews. They've got chats from people who work in maybe makeup or costume. There's just so much more to it than just going to see films. But what I love about it most is definitely the chance to go to the GFT, which is just the most stunning cinema. I love it. It's still got some of its Art Deco features. It's really beautiful, but also just a chance to maybe get away from the typical and actually see something a wee bit different and celebrate really diverse strands of cinema that otherwise I think you genuinely would struggle to get a hold of, either through a streaming service or on Blu-ray or whatever. And it's being with an audience as well when you're watching this stuff, because that's really what makes it, I think.
Definitely, yes. There's a real market for it in Glasgow. There's a real appreciative audience out there, which is a little different to your usual World of Cine audience, I would say, having spent a bit of time in both of those type of audiences over the last week and a half. It's quite incredible the way that people react to films, especially films that you wouldn't expect to be popular, and they end up selling out as well. There was a number of them, especially last weekend. I was speaking to a few people and they were saying that pretty much all of the screenings at the GFT on the Saturday and Sunday were selling out, if not close to selling out. Wow. And there's some very, very difficult films there as well. My highlight of the festivals in terms of sort of general thing with festivals is that you get such diversity in well, pretty much everything, as you say. There's lots and lots of things to see. I don't think I saw an English language film the first 2 days I was there. It just happened to be.
That's amazing.
Saw Ukrainian, Icelandic, saw one of these multinational films as well. It was just absolutely amazing. It was great, really, really good. One of the highlights for myself, obviously, is the movies that they do first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. They have a curated programme every year, and this year it was all round the theme of Are We There Yet? So it was a sort of dystopian future. And I managed to catch a couple of films on the big screen that I love, but I've never actually been able to see projected. The likes of Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, and Westworld. I saw it.
Brilliant.
Which are just amazing to see these films because you're reminded that they're made in a different way than you would ever see. They're paced differently. There's more emphasis on story, which I think is based mainly on the fact that the special effects can be pretty ropey with some of these films, that they have to plough as much of their time and effort into making the story work more than anything else, and then worrying about the special effects. These were all curated by Alan Hunter, one of the co-directors of the film festival, who comes on and basically gives a 10-minute talk about each film. He goes into the production of the film, gives you a bit of background about who was actually cited to star in the films and some of the troubles that the productions had as well. And it's always really interesting.
Nuggets. Yeah,
yes, he's very good at it. It's an excellent piece of work, and I've actually gone up to him and said to him a couple of times, that was absolutely superb, Alan. Well done. It was really, really good, especially for first thing in the morning, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really what I like though, is that all of the festival volunteers or curators or whatever, you can tell they just love film. Like a few times Alison Gardner, the co-director, got up and spoke before films that I went to see, and you can tell they're just bursting to tell you about, you know, what you're about to see and other strands of the festival. And on that note, I would just like to say a huge thank you to Ewan and Emma at the press box office, who were very helpful whenever I was going to pick up tickets, largely because I usually forgot what I was going to see that day. And it was always a bit of a shambles trying to get tickets printed. But I think the staff genuinely just care. They want a festival that has something for everyone. I know that sounds cheesy, but they want to make sure that everyone that's going along gets something out of it, whether it's a new film they haven't seen or, as you said, you know, revisiting some classics. I think they also do some free screeners as well. Is that correct? Like first thing in the morning they do some free tickets
That's the future.
Yeah.
The future dystopian ones, that's the ones that are the freebies. And they have those in GFT1 as well. You're getting to see it in probably the best cinema. I know the Cineworld screeners are very nice and the seats are very comfy and everything, but to see a film projected in GFT1 is just amazing. And to see it with an audience who have come there because they want to see something, because it's not easy for a lot of people to get out at 10:30 in the morning to see a film, especially with the weather it's been over the last week or so. So yes, people who see these films want to be there and they really enjoy them. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's one thing I'll say about the Fright Fest audience, like, because I always make a point of trying to see a couple of things at a Fright Fest as well, because to me it's like, it's rowdy. It feels like you're in a bar, like everyone's like really excited, and usually during the films there's a lot of like whooping and hollering and clapping, and like they're really, really reactive, like they really get into whatever they're seeing. And I think it's so nice. Like, how often do you go to the cinema and like at the end of every film there's a round of applause or like whistling because they love what they see on screen? Like, it's just people, like, it's, again, it sounds really corny, people come together who really love cinema and they all want to be there. And obviously in particular with Fright Fest, it's obviously all horror focused. It's exciting. It makes you feel kind of excited, and it, like, as much as I was like, oh shit, I've got 5 reviews to write up like in the space of 24 hours, you're like, oh, but I want to, because I had such a good time because everybody else in the room was like really enjoying it and you felt like you were really getting into it as well. So no, I love it. There's a real good buzz about it. And to all visiting guests, I promise Glasgow, like, it stops raining at some point. I'm just not sure when.
Well, they take allowances for that by not having very many outdoor screenings in February.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't think we could take that risk.
yeah, everything tends to be indoors. So we'll go on to specifics now. Obviously, it was a very packed itinerary, I would say, over the 10 days. It was over 200 films
Yeah.
that were shown. So I know it's like trying to choose your favourite child or something, but what was the favourite film for yourself over the festival?
I do feel like Meryl Streep right now. Actually, do you know, it was one that surprised me. It was one that I kind of picked sort of on a whim. But my favourite that I saw was Five is the Perfect Number.
È una guerra in piena regola, non ce la farete mai da solo. Avete agitato l'acqua della pozzanghera e mo il fango sta venendo a galla. 2 più 2 più 1 5. 5 è il numero perfetto.
An Italian gangster movie set in Naples in the 1970s. And again, the director, like he adapted his own graphic novel into a film, so the aesthetics are just stunning. Like it's really, really visual, absolutely luscious to look at. And it's, as I said in the review that's on the Moviescramble site, it's like Sam Peckinpah meets Wes Anderson meets Quentin Tarantino. It just has all these elements of like classic cinema, like motifs and themes and visuals, and it was so cool. It was like so effortless, and those guys swagging around and they've got like their trilbies on and their good Italian shoes and their Macs. But it was super violent. Like the violence is some of the best cinema violence I've seen in a long time, and it really struck me because I kind of thought it was going to be this sort of old, gritty, like old man film, but it was so stylish and really, really wicked one-liners as well. Like again, the audience were really, really laughing and getting involved in it. One of my favourite lines in the whole film is the title character sitting down, he's reminiscing about how he fell in love with his wife, and there's a wee flashback and there's a lot of like, you know, guys with Tommy guns, and he's like, yeah, I remember that day I had to kill all of her family to get her to notice me. We were so happy. And it's this throwaway lines like that you're like, oh, this is so good. And it, you know, it totally took me by surprise. It was one that I kind of picked just because I kind of like gangster movies, but to me that was the standout. And I probably have seen like better or kind of more clever films even just during the festival, but that's the one that's going to stick with me, I think.
Absolutely. I read the review of it on the site. It's very good. Obviously, that's a bit of self-publicising there,
Yep.
You know, bigging up ourselves.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, excellent choice. I
What about
didn't
you,
see
John?
that film, unfortunately. The film that I most enjoyed was a film called The Translators.
Les 10 premières pages de Dédalus tome 3 ne t'appartiennent plus. Si tu ne verses pas la somme d'ici 24 heures, 100 pages supplémentaires apparaîtront demain sur la toile.
I mean, look at us. We're in prison down here.
It's one of these films that feature a European cast. And basically from everywhere, and that becomes apparent through the story. It's the kind of film that used to be called a Europud film. It's like it brings in money from all over Europe, and you have various actors in it. It stars Alex Lauder, Olga Kurienko, and Riccardo Scamario. Basically, it's a whodunit, a mystery film based around the fact that there's a publisher who is publishing the third book in a series, this fantastic series that has been a sort of worldwide phenomena, and he wants to make sure that he maximizes his profits for this book going out. So what he does is he gets all these translators from all the sort of major languages, Chinese, Italian, English because it's written in French, German, Spanish, brings together either 11 or 12 people, brings them to this villa that's got this luxury bunker that has no outside connections whatsoever, and gives them pages from the book in order so they can translate it, and they've got a month to translate it. Now, during this process, the publisher starts receiving these emails saying, I'm going to publish the first 100 pages of your book if you don't give me 100 million euros. And he doesn't know where this is coming from because he's had the only copy of it. Everything's been done in secret. So he's suspecting that it's somebody in the bunker, but he's got no idea.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
So he starts interrogating everybody, and it gets quite sinister and quite dark in places. Basically makes sure that he's fully on top of everything, and then the next demand comes in with the next 100 pages having published the first lot, and it just kind of spirals from there. It's one of these stories, it's really sort of kinetic. It just keeps going, and it builds up. and you don't really have an idea of what's going on until maybe the last 20 minutes of it, and even then you're kind of thinking, is this actually how it's going to end?
Yeah.
It seems a wee bit strange, and again, it goes all over the place. I'm not going to say any more than that because it's one of these films you really should see. It's a cracking movie.
I definitely want to go and
really
see that.
enjoyed
I wish I had gone to see it. It sounds amazing. Actually, I remember reading the brochure. They said it was like Knives Out kind of style sort of thing, like that we're kind of reminiscent of that. But no, it does. It sounds amazing. So, was there a premiere of that? Is that what Simon Pegg was up for? Or am I talking rubbish?
No, that was Lost Translations that he was
That's
up
what it
for.
was.
Which
Sorry.
again was an excellent film. I saw that on this last Saturday, I think it was. I missed the premiere screening of it where he was in talking about the film and everything, but that was a very good film. Brutal and very, very dark because it's dealing with mental illness and loss and things like that. It was nowhere near comedic Simon Pegg at all. It's a very, very serious role.
Interesting.
He was excellent in it. Came across really, really well, and I don't know why I'm surprised, because doing comedy is more difficult than doing straight roles, because you're having to do a straight role and then basically make it funny on top of that. So if you can do comedy, then it shouldn't be any more of a stretch to do a straight role. And you see that time and time again, comedians who come in and do straight roles. Adam Sandler, when he can be actually arsed doing a straight role.
Oh, Uncut James was tremendous.
Yeah, he's very good at it because he's a very good actor. Most people hate his comedies. It's neither here nor there. But yeah, so overall, the great festival. I saw 20 films, and I just echo your sentiments with regards to the organisation of it as well. The support staff were excellent. I was able to carry out a couple of interviews as well for the site, the first of which will be on today, I believe. Today being Sunday. Yeah. And the second one will be up as soon as I can actually get my arse in gear and actually look at the damn thing. And one that I've been asked to hold back until it's proper cinema release, so that will come later on in the year. But it's all related to the film festival, so I will obviously give them a big shout at the time. It was interesting in that sort of respect because it's the first year I've actually been doing interviews. We've been offered them in the past, but it's something that we haven't really touched on, to be perfectly fair, but it's somewhere that we're going to be hopefully expanding into over the next months and years, I would say. Yeah. It's definitely an avenue because it's always interesting speaking to people who want to talk about films.
Absolutely, and I think because, especially at Fright Fest as well, there was loads of directors at Fright Fest. Ryan Spindell was there before the Mortuary Collection came on, which is such a good film. I can't recommend it enough. It would literally just pip to the post by 5 is the perfect number. It was absolutely tremendous horror anthology. But what I think is nice about it is particularly when the films are kind of smaller, and the director of the Mortuary Collection had spoken about, taking like so many years to make, and he now had no money left because it was just everything about himself he poured into this film. And I think like when it's people like that who genuinely care about their product and it's not just like some other junket to them, like I think that makes for kind of better interviews as well, because they're there because they actually love their film and not just because their agent has told them you need to be in Glasgow at a certain time to do so many interviews, So okay,
so that is basically a roundup of the 2020 Glasgow Film Festival. It has just been announced that the film festival will be running from the 24th of February through to the 7th of March next year.
Fantastic.
Which is always good. I plan to get my annual leave in as soon as I'm
going to do that right now. I'll actually have holidays left next year, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's just been a lovely experience again, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really pleased that I got involved once more. Okay, so thanks very much, everybody. It's been a bit of a short one this time, which is good, obviously, for your ears, and it's good for us because it saves our voices. So until the next time, thank you very much, and cheerio.
See you on the next pod. Bye.